Okay, everyone, as promised, quick walk around of the 67 GTO project we got going on here. As I said, the car's got a lot going on. You can see the wheelhouses are mocked up, but as we come in here, you can see what I'm talking about. Even though, like here in these trunk drops, you would think, hey, these look pretty good. They don't look that bad. You start looking real close, and with the money the customer's going to spend here, that's got to get replaced. I cut this section of the floor out way back when we first pulled the body off the chassis because we thought we could get away with patching it, but it's just, again, finding more rust and more rust inside the bracing of the floor pan and the trunk pan. There's a lot of pitted rust that I just cannot get to, so that's why we just elected to fix everything. We kind of come around. I know I mentioned previously we're going to try to save this panel. Hopefully, you can see we got some rust starting around these taillights. Let's hope when we pull it apart, it's not a mess on the backside. I would like to save it, but it'll be what it'll be, I guess. Keep walking around. Here's the other wheelhouse mocked up in place. And as I mentioned in the other video, and I know I mentioned it over and over again, about parts not fitting, companies, the same manufacturer not being able to make a left and a right panel with the same parameters, with the same tolerances. You know, we're going to get down, I'll show you in a minute here, but you can see, keep moving up, rust, rust, rust. Here's a lovely repair right here. This is what came out of this spot right here. This was in here with a pop rivet. They even notched it so that would fit in there. This is aluminum flashing. You can get this at the hardware store. This is for fixing the roof on your car, on your house. They shoved this in here, put a pop rivet in it, so that they could try to glue the window in. Funny stuff. Anyway, you can see here, if you look all along here, that whole bottom edge is made completely out of body filler. All of these GM cars, Chrysler cars, Ford cars, all these cars that had the sail panels with the recessed back window all suffer the same fate. Because the rainwater comes down here and it just kind of sits in here, and the way the wind moves around, it lays in here, it can't drain out, and it rots this away. So when I put it together with a new piece, I'm going to treat that area. The brand new panel, I'm going to put an extra layer of protection in there so that any standing water won't rust it out. But I mean, just look at this. This is underneath the quarter panel. Look at all the pitting in here. I'm going to have to clean all of this out and coat this, probably a Pour 15 or a chassis saver or something, because the metal's pitted. It's still sound, but it's pitted. There's a couple small spots. I know there's one on that side, but you just look at this. This metal here, this was what was left of the quarter panel, and somebody thought this was good. Up there you can see there's more mud and stuff stuck in here, and it just continues on all the way around. Just an absolute mess. So that's why this panel's getting changed. This whole panel here is getting changed. Everything back here is getting changed. But on to reproduction parts and another example of a left and a right not being the same. We'll show this side first so you can get an overview of what I'm talking about. If we come down, and you can see it kind of matches up. I got some screws to hold it in place. I've got some marks, and it follows the factory inner quarter all the way down to the rocker. Little bit of hammer work to bring that out there to mate with the rocker properly. But look what we have on this side. Look at the gap in here. I measured this. There's 3/8 of an inch. It's actually bigger than 3/8. It's almost 7/16. There you go. There's a good shot. This panel needs to be modified to meet the factory rocker panel. So I have to take a brand new panel and start cutting it up and making it fit. What does that translate into? Dollars. It is what it is. If you want to know why this is so expensive to do, it's because of stupid stuff like that. Make the panels the same, follow proper parameters, quality control, and guys won't have this problem. But They never will. I haven't seen it yet, and I don't suspect I ever will. But you see that side, like I said, we got almost 7/16 of an inch. Let's walk around to this side, and we've got the same stuff going on as far as rust and everything. You know, this is what I mentioned over here in the previous video. Look, this is just really obliterated with pitting. I don't think there's much metal left in here. I'll have to get all this done. But anyway, let's drop down and let's look at this one. If we come in and we look at this side, if I can get the camera in here, that's tough. There we go. You look down in there, even though, there we go, even though the shape isn't 100%, I'll be able to work with this. This will need just a slight modification to get this out to here. But it makes you wonder, and this is why we mock things up. How well is this lip going to be here to the quarter panel? I won't know that until I mock up the quarter panel, which is why I said before, you have to mock everything up, because then you have to figure out what has to get moved around. Same thing here. A lot of pitting in here, and that's because this was bare steel. You know, the factory never cared about any of that stuff. So this is all pitted. This will all have to be cleaned off and treated. Oh, one thing I want to point out too, this is one thing I see a lot of, and I don't want to forget this. You see these panels here. There's one on each side, there's one over there, and there's one here. Most shops, when they do quarter panel replacements on cars, they never put these supports back in. Every car is a little different. Camaros, Mustangs, they all have little braces and things that are in there for a reason. And a lot of the times when they hack your quarter panel off, they throw the quarter panel out, they put your new one on. Well, these are not on the new quarter panel because they're not welded to the quarter panel. They're welded underneath here after the quarter panel's made, and then they use adhesive on here. Then the whole thing goes on, and this is support. Other area, it's got to be in there. You got to replace. If these are rotted, you got to try to find replacements. This supports this area of the quarter panel. It gives it a little bit of extra strength here. Moving forward, another one. This one here is even more critical on any of these cars. When they have this rear window shape here, this is a sharp corner. And a lot of you guys may see cars that have cracks in here. You'll see beautiful cars at car shows, and you look in here and you'll see cracks. A lot of that could be because you see this brace under here? When they replaced the quarter panels, they cut that brace out of the way and never installed that brace on the new quarter panel. That's why I left the pieces of the old quarter panel on here, and I'll carefully come in and piece all of this off of here so that we have this brace. But this is important. I see this all the time. These braces there and here never get put back on. Frankenstein had issues with cracking in here, and that was because of bad repairs underneath and missing things and this and that. But I know first-gen Camaros are notorious for cracking here because if the quarter panel's ever been replaced, they never put this piece in. And there is a piece on a lot of these cars with this sharp corner on the quarter window. On the hardtop cars, you'll see a lot of cracking here, especially if this is missing. So put this in. Anyway, keep moving forward. I think we can save the rockers on this car. The outer rockers are fine. The new floor pan assembly comes with inner rockers, so we're going to go ahead and replace that. We're going to see if we can save these doors because I'm not thrilled with the aftermarket replacement doors. They're just not the right gauge. They're thinner. They're not welded the same, and they have some fitment issues, so you end up spending a lot of money to make them work. Keep moving into the car. You can see prior patches. You can see a lot of surface rust, and that's why, you know, it was just better to replace this entire thing than to spend the money on patching, and it'll be all replaced all the way up to the seams. That whole package tray, everything's getting replaced. Thankfully, the inner quarters on both sides are fine. They're in good shape. The rocker lip on these cars, they're a little tricky to do the floor. This lip here has to stay. This is part of the rocker, the outer rocker panel, and the floor comes in from underneath and it's welded here. So I have to carefully drill out all these spot welds, bend this metal up a little bit, get the old floor out, put the new floor in, and then bend that back down and weld it. Got a little work on the toe pans, both sides, not too bad. This side's not as bad as that side, but they do sell panels, so we can fix all this. But like I said, car needs a lot. It's hacked down a lot farther than Frankenstein, and you can see that we've got a lot of work ahead of us. There's pieces that I'm going to have to make that they don't make, among many other things. Come around to this side, a little more rust on this door. You can see it down at the bottom there. It's not too awful bad. It is savable. That rocker there, you're just seeing surface rust on the rocker. There's no rot that I've seen there. But when I cut the floor out and cut the inner rocker out, if we find that that rocker is maybe too far compromised, I'm going to replace it. We got new full quarters going on here. And as you can see, just more of the same on this side. Moving around the car, more of the same. Up to the front, another spot. These GTOs and Chevelles of this era, they all love to rust here at the base of the windshield. And to my knowledge, they do not make a good panel for this area. So I'm probably going to have to hand fabricate that. And just like I mentioned with repairing a brand new wheelhouse back there, what does that mean? It just means money. But it'll be fixed right. Like I say, fix it right or don't fix it at all. Engine's already been gone through. Transmission's been rebuilt. We've already had this thing running. Brake lines, fuel lines, as I mentioned before, everything. Aluminum radiator, core support's done. Suspension's all done. So we don't have to worry about anything forward of the firewall. The fenders are actually surprisingly good. Small patches behind the tires, like that's all they need. The hood is in great shape. The trunk lid is in great shape. The front sheet metal pieces, the filler pieces up front, grill pieces, headlight surrounds. There's some stuff that's usable and some stuff that will have to be replaced, but overall, not bad. Our biggest issue is going to be fixing the rust and the bad repairs from the past. You've got that piece of roofing flashing that never should have been put in there. Anyway, there's a quick overview of the 67 GTO. You can see what I'm working with. Stay tuned. Like, subscribe, questions, comments, anything. We'll see you soon, guys.